changed. Over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they themselves created. This has always been about the spectacle. Chuck Schumer himself joined the spectacle in New York City. And it's interesting to note his activities there. He was standing side by side some of the most radical groups that maybe ever assembled on U.S. soil. They openly advertised as co-sponsors of the event in New York City the Communist Party USA, the Democrat Socialist of America, the Freedom Socialist Party, the Young Communist League of New York, many others. Do we need any further evidence? They're not hiding this. They're out in the open. They're not shy about it, because this is the core constituency of the modern Democratic Party. These are objective facts. Look at what's happening. Open your eyes. It is exactly why Chuck Schumer is pandering in this whole charade. We've explained from the very beginning, this shutdown is about one thing and one thing alone: Chuck Schumer's political survival. Now, I noted on Friday the lead organizer of the rallies this weekend issued an open threat to Democrats. Quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating with you, or they're going to be calling for new leadership." Now, that's a direct threat to Chuck Schumer, and he heard the message. And so did Hakeem Jeffries in the House. And that's why neither of them were here doing their jobs. Instead, they were out in New York and California. They were catering to the same radical base that is just days away from electing an open Marxist as mayor of New York City. And now that Chuck Schumer has had his spectacle, he's had his big protest against America, this is our plea. We're asking, and I think everybody in this room and everybody watching, listening to our voices this morning should be hoping that he is finally now ready to go to work and end this shutdown and stop inflicting pain on the American people. Republicans have been working. We are ready. We've been doing this. It's been over a month now. We passed our responsible short-term solution to keep the government open while we just simply finish our work to fund the government openly and transparently, and Republicans are completely united on that front. On the other side, Democrats can't even agree amongst themselves. You got different subgroups among them. You've got a few reasonable Democrats who know shutdowns hurt the people, and they've already voted for our bill. They want to keep the government open. Then you've got others desperate to prop up the failures of Obamacare with no reforms whatsoever to make the program more affordable. That's what we're fighting for. And you've got AOC calling for her own negotiations on live TV, and you've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries still unable to articulate what it is they need to reopen the government. It illustrates the point once again. This was never about a solution. It was about creating an issue. Now that Democrats have had their protest and publicity stunts, I just pray that they come to their senses and end this shutdown and reopen the government this week.